Very good morning, children. Before you, a very thin personality, that is LSS. I am in the field of teaching more than 25 years, nearly 2 decades. As far as my transfers are concerned, I can assure you there will not be any fear on mathematics. I am associated with the various institutions. I know the in and out of the mathematical areas. When I was your age, when I was a student, what are the difficulties I had? The same difficulty I will not make you. Therefore, you can definitely enjoy my class. I can say my experience in teaching in the riddle form. Father was my student when he was doing CA. He is a doctor also. He is my student when she is doing CPT. Thereby, you can assess my experience in teaching exclusively for CA, ICWA and MBA. You can ask a question. What are all mathematical teachers? They will teach 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. Whether you are going to teach 5 plus 2 is equal to 8 means no. I am also going to teach 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. If I say 5 plus 2 is equal to 8, definitely will laugh at me. But the way in which I am going to teach, that always counts. Presenting any information, that is always a count. How we present, how we sit, how we dress, how we talk, all it counts. Therefore, my presentation will definitely make the students love over the subject. Therefore, I can the very first chapter, sentimentally, I like is a measure of central tendency. Immediately, I cannot touch a measure of central tendency. First, I will explain. What is a statistics? If you put a question, it is a science. Science of what? Science of figures. What figures? Numerical figures. So, statistics is a science of numerical figures. You need not take any point. I will dictate the notes. Listen carefully. Don't take any points and all. Listen carefully. Statistics is a science of numerical figures. It deals with, originally we should consider statistics as an art subject, like a literature, like a economics, likewise we should consider as an art subject. Later on, they realized the application of mathematics in statistics. They are now treated as a science subject. So it is no longer art subject, but it is a science subject. What is a study of statistics? It deals with collection of data, collection of information, data. Frequently we use the word data. What does it indicate if you ask a question? Data is a information. Collection of information, grouping, editing, presenting, manipulating, drawing inferences, etc. That is a study of statistics. So various processes. Statistics involves various processes. First the collection process, thereafter presentation process, thereafter grouping process, editing, investigation, statistical analysis, what is the manipulation we can give, what is the inference that can be drawn, all these we are going to study. That is a study of statistics. How to collect the information? I can ask you to collect some information. Suppose I am asking one student, you collect some information about the students getting mark. One student will say, sir, I collected the information. 5 students, they got mark 100, 75, 42, 0, 65. Sir, I collected the information like this, sir. I inquired 5 students in plus 2. They said their mark If you present like this presentation is called ungrouped form. Ungrouped, otherwise individual marks. So individually you can present, this is called individual data, otherwise called ungrouped data. Another student will, sir, I have collected the information about the diameter of screws. So 7 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 6 millimeter, 12 millimeter. Likewise, another student will collect the information like this. So each person can collect the information about 5 persons or 5 items or 10 items. Likewise, he can present like this. It's a numerical figures. This type of presentation, you have to call it as an ungrouped form. That's another way of presentation. Mark student. 5 mark 10 students. 10 mark 18 students. 12 mark 20 students. 15 marks 40 students. Likewise also you can present, if you present the information like this form is called discrete form. Discrete form of presentation. Exactly 10 students got exactly each of them 5. 18 students got to mark each 10. 20 students got to mark 12 each. 40 students, each of them got 15 marks. This is also a presentation. In this manner you can present it. In this manner also you can present. Suppose 100 students mark if you present. The board is full of numerical figures. It is not wise. This type of presentation up to 10 you can restrict. Up to 10 this is very good presentation. Exceeding 10 this way of presentation is good. Here you are classifying against a single letter, against 5, 10, against 10, 18. This type of presentation we used to call as a discrete form. There is one more presentation. 0 to 10, number of students 8, 10 to 20, number of students 18, 20 to 30, number of students 12. Likewise, if you prefer, this is also another presentation. This is called grouped data, otherwise called frequency distribution. So 3 types of presentation you can learn. One is called ungrouped form of presentation. Another one is called discrete form of presentation. One more form we have, grouped form of presentation. There are 3 presentation we have. Once the data is presented, what should be done next? How long you look at the data? So first I am collecting and presenting the data. How long you look? You have to start investigation. You have to make a statistical analysis you have to make. What type of statistical analysis we have to make? First you have to study the importance of the data. That we used to call characteristic, significance of the data. So how to measure the significance of the data is a prime study. So any data is given, what is the importance and significance or characteristic of the data, we are going to first discuss. Before that, if I ask, what is the average mark in plus 2? If I ask, one student can say, my average is 83.5 sir. My average is 91.5 sir. My average mark is 63.5. Just by a single entry, just one entry of telling 63, 81.5, just one single entry if you tell, I can assess about your performance in plus 2. My assessment is correct or wrong is not a debating. And we are not going to debate the assessment is correct or not. Just we can make some assessment by a single entry. Suppose if you say my mark is 83, means really you are intelligent. Your performance in plus 2 is very appreciable and you are classified as an intelligent student. Those whose mark is average 63, I can say is a very average mark. Likewise, just by single entry, we can judge, we can assess about the performance of the student. Just by single entry is enough. The single entry is called measure of central tendency. What is a measure of central tendency? It's a single entry, sir. The single entry tells us. What it tells us? It summarizes the characteristic, of the data just by a single entry. That single entry is called measure of central tendency. If you know physics, let us go back to school physics. Physics you might be knowing sense of gravity. If you take an object, the weight of the whole object, the weight of a body, the weight of an object, the entire weight of an object is concentrating at only one point. Suppose I am taking this marker. This weight where it acts means no one says here acts, you cannot. Only one point you have to indicate. That point the weight acts. So whole weight of a body, the whole weight of an object concentrates at only one point. That point is called center of gravity. So if you want to represent where the weight of the body concentrates means just one point. Similarly, the characteristic of the data is concentrating at only one point. That one point, a single point, is called measure of central tendency. That is a study we are going to make in this today's class. Before discussing, again let us go back to the basics. If I ask your age in terms of numerical, if I ask your parental income, you have to express in terms of numerical. If you want to express your height in terms of numerical, anything you can express in terms of numerical we should call quantitative item. What is quantitative item? Very often I use this word quantitative. Quantitative item that can be expressed in terms of numerical. That is called quantitative. For example, I said sales, demand, price, while expressing in terms of numerical. But at the same time you should know all items you cannot express in terms of numerical. For example, beauty. Beauty cannot be expressed in terms of numerical. He is beautiful or not. Anger. He is angry or not. Anger cannot be measured. Gender cannot be measured. Nationality cannot be measured. Criminality we cannot measure. Feelings cannot be measured. Pain. It is a painful experience. It has no pain. You cannot measure. So there are a lot of things, or most of the things we cannot measure. They are incapable. But at the same time, what we can do? It is paining, not paining. This is a tasty, no tasty. He is a married, unmarried. Will anybody say his marriage is equal to 43.2? We cannot. We cannot express in terms of numerical, because they are incapable for measurements. Anything which is incapable for measurement, you have to use the word quality. Technically I can say attributes. Attributes are nothing but qualitative characteristics where we cannot measure in terms of numerical, but we can find absence and presence. This item is possessing the quality or not possessing the quality. Likewise, we can argue that you cannot actually measure it. That is called quality. So quantity, numerical way of expression. Quality, you cannot express in terms of numerical, but presence, finding, possessing or not possessing, that manner you can call it, or that manner you can classify. Another term frequently I will use, absolute measure. Absolute. What is the meaning of absolute measure? Whenever you express certain things, measuring unit is attached. What is your height? Means simply 5'7", 5 feet 7 inches, foot inches, measuring unit. What is your parental income? Simply 40,000 asses or horses. Rupees 40,000 rupees. So while expressing certain things, measure unit should be attached to. That is called absolute measure. So anything while expressing measuring unit should be needed. That type of expression is called absolute measure. There are certain things you cannot measure in terms of measuring unit. For example, A's income 5,000, A's income, B's income rupees 10,000. What is the ratio of income? 1:2, 1/2. This is called ratio. Ratio we used to call relative measure. So relative measure, in statistics we have a relative measure. Relative, relation in comparison. Even if we take family, comparing two persons we can establish a relations. Minimum two things we used to compare, and that by relation. Is my uncle, is my auntie. Likewise, we used to establish some relation. Same logic here. When you compare two things, after comparison you are getting some value. That value is called relative measure. In statistics, any name if you come across coefficient, the word coefficient, whenever you pronounce, the answer is always a relative measure. Coefficient of correlation, answer is a numerical, no measuring unit. Correlation coefficient 0.82 centimeter, you should not, simply 0.82 numerical figures. coefficient of regression, coefficient of variation, coefficient of mean deviation. The coefficient word, once you pronounce, once you notice, you have to say it is a relative measure. So relative measure, absolute measure, difference, measure unit you have to attach, your measure unit cannot be attached. Quality, quantity, quantifiable item that can be expressed in terms of numerical, where you cannot express in terms of numerical quality. These are the 4 important things initially you should know. Take down the notes, put a heading, chapter 1. As you dress neatly, you have to write